NoDQ.com.
Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to a NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. I have your questions today, so let's go ahead and get started. First one comes from Isaac. Could you see Bobby Lashley cost Roman Reigns the match at SummerSlam to turn heel and feud with him some more? I don't think we are going to see Lashley interfere in the match. I think Bobby Lashley, aka Bob the Lash, could possibly turn heel at some point, but I don't think it's going to be at the SummerSlam pay-per-view. I could see it happening maybe the next night or maybe shortly after that, even though right now it looks like Roman Reigns is going to feud with either Kevin Owens or Braun Strowman. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns was announced for Hell in a Cell, although card is subject to change. Does it feel like Lashley is going to be in the Universal title picture right now? Which is unfortunate for him because he should be one of the top guys in WWE. He should be fighting for the Universal Championship. I feel like having him in a mid-card role is a waste of his potential, and if you're not going to push him to the top, why bring him back in the first place? The guy looks like a main event superstar, so I think you should push him as one. But yeah, I think it's very unlikely he interferes. If there's any interference with the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns match, I think it will be Paul Heyman somehow getting involved. But I think there's a decent chance Roman Reigns just flats out beats Brock Lesnar, and that's the end of Brock Lesnar's WWE run. Would not shock me to see it go down that way. And I know I keep saying that. I keep predicting, okay, Reigns is finally going to beat Lesnar. It doesn't happen. He's finally going to beat Lesnar. I think it will happen this time. But I will give my final prediction when NoDQ.com's predictions video is recorded, so stay tuned for that. Got this one here from Steven. Whom do you think will be the next Impact Wrestling or New Japan Pro Wrestling superstars to sign with WWE? Will Kenny Omega ever sign the dotted line with WWE? Yes, I think he will one day. Will it be this soon? Early 2019? That remains to be seen. I think that depends on him and what he thinks is best for his career. But from what I'm hearing, WWE is looking to make a big money offer at Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks for that matter, and we'll see. Money talks, and these guys are going to do what's best for their families. Would not shock me if they do sign with WWE. Time will tell. What is their price? What does WWE have to pay to get their services? As far as Impact Wrestling goes, I would have said Eli Drake, but it appears that WWE wasn't all that interested in him right now, so he signed a new deal with them. I could see him eventually ending up in WWE. Apparently, WWE is interested in Pentagon Jr., who is also working for Lucha Underground, so that is a possibility in the future as well. And other than that, I'm not really sure which talent in Impact Wrestling will end up back in WWE at some point. Maybe one day we'll see Johnny Impact, aka John Morrison, back in WWE, but no indication he's going back there anytime soon. He was seen on Miz and Mrs., but other than that, he hasn't been part of WWE for a very long time, and I don't know when he'll be coming back. But right now, I think as far as the big unsigned WWE guys go, Kenny Omega has to be at the top of the list, followed by the Young Bucks. Got this one here from William. Would you ever consider recording your reactions while you watch Monday Night Raw live? Also, do you think we will ever get a Monday Night Raw that has no tag team matches and that isn't complacent? I think the last part of your question, the second part, the answer is no. Regarding recording live reaction videos, there's a couple of issues with that. First of all, I do live tweeting, and I also sometimes write results for the shows, particularly the pay-per-views, but mostly I'm live tweeting, and it would be boring. I mean, I know some people can pull it off, multitask, or maybe they just focus on the reactions, but there would be a lot of dead air, and I'm not really a fan of just having the camera on me while I'm sitting on the computer. And my reactions, I'm not going to be one of those people that either jumps up and down and marks out like crazy or gets really angry. And those are the people that are most entertaining to watch. So it's not really my cup of tea, not really my style. I'm more subdued with my reactions, either positive or negative. And a lot of times I'm just watching the show, trying to dissect it and give a review of it and just look at it from that perspective. I'm not like that typical fanboy at a WWE show. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you know, I don't go to WWE shows and I'm not jumping up and down and, you know, doing what everybody else is doing. Myself and Virtue over Money in the Bank weekend, we were there, and Virtue was even worse than me. He was just nitpicking with everything. The only time he got animated was when I put the camera on him and he started praising Roman Reigns and trying to counteract all the fans that were booing Reigns versus Mahal. But other than that, myself and Virtue were looking at it and just trying to study everything that's going on and dissect everything. So that's just the kind of person I am when it comes to watching wrestling. Would not make for great entertainment to see me doing live reaction videos. I'm just not that guy. Got this one here from Mr. Yuck. Cain Velasquez has been spotted at the WWE Performance Center. Will we see more crossover wrestlers to MMA and vice versa? I think we will. I don't know if Cain being there means anything. From what I've heard, he is trying to get the two sides working against each other, much like Brock Lesnar does, to cut himself a better deal. And I think Cain is looking to perhaps stay with the UFC and get a good deal from them. But he could definitely end up in WWE. Looking at the success of Ronda Rousey, I think a lot of UFC fighters will see WWE as a good opportunity to make some more money and remain a big star after the fighting career is over. Somebody like Conor McGregor, he doesn't need the money, let's face it, but I think there's a possibility we could see him jump to WWE at some point. Maybe not doing what Ronda's doing as a full-time performer, but maybe he'll do a one-off or a couple of matches. Cain, who knows? Maybe he'll end up wanting a WWE career. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, I feel he was there mainly as leverage to get a better deal with the UFC. We'll see what happens. Got this one here from Rollins versus Styles, please. Hey Aaron, your thoughts on a superstar facing the champion on Raw or SmackDown just to get the title shot against the champion again at the upcoming pay-per-view? In my opinion, 50-50 booking, it just seems pointless. It is a weird way that WWE is setting up matches these days. I get it. It does make sense sometimes to have the challenger beat the champion on television to establish the idea that the challenger can beat the champion. It's been done many times in history, and sometimes you'll have the challenger tap out the champion, like Ken Shamrock tapping out Shawn Michaels. I was talking about MMA guys earlier. Shamrock tapped out Shawn Michaels right before their In Your House DX match, and that was done to establish Ken Shamrock as a real contender. So it does make sense, but doing these matches where the champion faces the challenger and the challenger has to win to get the title shot, I mean, there's other ways to do that, and you shouldn't have the champion getting beat all the time, especially if they're having credibility issues. So you look at the past few weeks with Carmella. She needs all the help she can get right now. And WWE has her lose to Becky and then has her lose to Charlotte. And yeah, that is going to hurt her. She needs some wins. She's the last person that should be taking all these falls as champion. She needs all the wins she can get. It's similar to Mahal. Mahal was booked very poorly as champion. If you're somebody who has a lot of credibility and you can afford some losses, then it's okay to do it every now and then. But I think WWE does it too much with guys that need to be protected more. Got this one here from Garrett. Which one would you want to see the most, and which one would main event WrestleMania? DX versus The Shield, Benoit versus Daniel Bryan, or Shawn Michaels versus The Rock? I would go with Shawn Michaels versus The Rock. As far as I'm concerned, that is one of the biggest dream matches that we never got to see in WWE. I'm not even sure if they wrestled at all in WWE. They did have a few interactions, but they never wrestled, and there's been various stories about it, stories that they had real-life heat with each other, which might have been the case, but at the same time, it's a money match, and these guys are professionals, and if there's money to be made, you take advantage of it. But my opinion is that the timing just wasn't right. By the time The Rock really got hot, Shawn was already injured and out of wrestling, and I think by the time Shawn came back, Rock was pretty much winding down his career. But yeah, that would be my top match. Shield versus DX, yeah, it would be cool, but I think a one-on-one Shawn Michaels versus Rock match, legend versus legend, would have been red hot and would have been an all-time great main event. This one comes from Jordan. WWE is going back to Saudi Arabia in November. Do you think that the Evolution pay-per-view is a way to distract us from inevitable backlash due to the lack of women on the card overseas? Triple H has denied this. He was asked about this, if Saudi Arabia and that whole deal was the reason why WWE decided to do the Evolution pay-per-view. I think there might be some truth to what Triple H is saying, because WWE has been building up the women's division for several years now, and it's been one step at a time. You know, it has evolved. They did a Hell in a Cell match. They did an Elimination Chamber match. They did a Royal Rumble. So naturally, the next step in the progression is a full-fledged pay-per-view. So would not surprise me if this was something in the works for a while. Now, is it possible that the stuff with Saudi Arabia and the backlash that caused WWE to speed up the process? That is certainly a possibility. Would not shock me if that was the case. If the Saudi Arabia thing never happened, maybe WWE would have waited another year or two before pulling the trigger on this. But, you know, with Ronda Rousey coming in, now is the time to do it. So it's really hard to tell the true motives. And it could just be a combination of everything. And WWE just feels it's the right time for a number of reasons. And Saudi Arabia just happens to be one of those reasons. Got this one here from Chris. Hey Aaron, what do you think of the idea of Trish and Lita versus Sasha and Bayley at the Evolution pay-per-view, and having Sasha and Bayley attack them and turn heel as a tag team? Interesting idea. Bayley and Sasha, I have talked about the idea of one of them turning heel, both of them turning heel at the same time as a big swerve. I like it. Sounds like something Vince Russo might do, but hey, it could help both of them. Again, with Bayley, it might be taking a chance, but man, that would really shock people to see both of them turn at the same time and stay together, but as heels. I would find that to be really intriguing, and maybe we'll see something like that. I mean, they need something with this storyline. Just Sasha and Bayley being friends now, if that's the end of the story with no real payoff or swerve, then it just feels like a big waste of everyone's time. So I'm hoping WWE has something planned with Sasha and Bayley, so there can be some satisfaction investing all this time and watching their storyline unfold. Got this one here from Turbonius. What is your personal favorite moment in WWE history? Mine is Eddie and Benoit embracing at the end of WrestleMania 20 as champions. That is a very loaded question. So you're asking me for my personal favorite moment. I don't even know if I could name one off the top of my head. I obviously love the Steve Austin, Bret Hart double turn at WrestleMania 13, and business-wise, that was huge for WWE. In my opinion, it's the most important moment in wrestling history, but some lesser-known moments that I really enjoyed. Going back, Jake the Snake Roberts using the Cobra on Randy Savage was one of my favorites, and Ric Flair's appearance where he got in Roddy Piper's face, and then Piper swung the chair and hit Vince by mistake, and Vince took a bump before way before the Mr. McMahon character ever got started and Vince was taking bumps. This was 1991. During the Attitude Era, Tyson Austin's confrontation, the first stunner to Vince in Madison Square Garden, pretty much all the Steve Austin Vince, the major segments, like Vince getting attacked in the hospital, the Corvette with the cement, the Zamboni, the beer truck. I mean, those would be the top moments. The DX parody. I'm just trying to think of my all-time favorite moments. I mean, those are definitely at the top of the list. Hogan, Rock, WrestleMania, just for nostalgic purposes, that was great. Non-WWE, the Hogan heel turn, the formation of the NWO was definitely up there. And I could name a lot more, but those are the ones, when I think of my all-time favorite memories, those are at the top. And X-Pac returning the night after WrestleMania 14, just because I really wanted to see WWE catch up to WCW, and to me that was a really big turning point. So that one's up there as well. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ Video. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please share it, tell a friend, and I will see you guys next time for more.